So what I've been doing is this is what's left of the roof panel when I removed it. So I know that this panel's getting replaced. So I went ahead and trimmed, got all of that off, all the way across the back, all the way over back to the other side. So just to right there. So the only piece of the roof that's left is this piece here. So I've got all this prepped. I started hammering these dents out. But right now I'm going through and I'm stripping all this paint. As you can see, those are all low spots. There's a bad one right there. And this has still got some factory paint on it. Surprisingly, there's some red oxide primer down in there. You can just see a little bit of it in there. And when I was sanding down here, I thought this was rust, but that's actually red oxide primer. And I'm assuming that that's the factory primer. So right now I'm just trying to clean all this up so I can get all this smoothed out. Now hammer and dolly it, because like there's a big divot right there. So I can hammer that down and just kind of flatten it. The intention is once I get the roof on here and get it set up in there, I'll spot weld in a couple places, but then I'm going to go around and I'm going to cut this gutter off, and I'm just going to have the roof with no gutter. I think it'll look cleaner that way. Once I get the roof panel and get it in here, I think I'll look at it and then go from there. But it's not in too bad a shape. There's quite a bit of rust on this. The problem with these trucks is that this lap joint here, the seam sealer goes and water gets in there, and that's how this happens. That's how over the windshield happens. All of this over the top of the door, because this is all rotted out, and that's because that seam sealer goes bad. So I don't think General Motors expected these trucks to last, 50, 70, 100 years. So they weren't really worried about it, but I'm gonna correct all that and get all this stuff taken care of. So that's where we're at. I'm just removing all that paint off the back in preps for when I get sheet metal and start figuring out where things are gonna go and stuff. I have ordered parts. I ordered these. I don't know how high they come up. I think they come up to about here. Hopefully they come all the way. And I'll be removing these on both sides. So I can get in there. I'm gonna do some work. So I want to do some work on the firewall. So there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be done. And my goal is to get this cab rust-free and in primer before the C10 Nats next year, and have this sitting on top of the frame when I take it back. And yes, I have already registered for the 2026 C10 Nats in Knoxville, or in Nashville, excuse me. So, but that's what I'm doing. So let me get back to it. So now the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to treat all this with some Eastwood Fast Etch, just so that I know it's not going to flash rust on me, and it'll be good until I get around to doing everything else I need to do. So as I'm removing all this stuff, the black, and in places where it's purple, that's from me. The gray primer is also from me, and that was in 87, 88. Before I graduated from high school, I had gone through and done a bunch of body work and primed it with lacquer primer and drum thinner, which was the way we used to do it back in the day. And then a guy named Charles O'Kelly was teaching me how to paint and stuff. He painted it, and we did it in Chrysler Jet Black and mixed Rosetta Red Pearl in with the clear coat. He highlighted the body lines, and then we did a light coat of that over the whole truck and then cleared it. So the white that's in here was before I got it. The truck was a blue-green when I got it. But I'm getting it down to bare metal, which is the way we do things nowadays. And then I can fix everything. I'll get it, once I get the whole thing down to bare metal and get all the rust repaired, I'll go in and do another scuffing on it, and I'll shoot it in epoxy, let the epoxy cure, and then I'll put urethane primer over the top of it in a 2K urethane. I'll probably put a couple coats of that on there, and then I'll start blocking it out and figure out where I need to do filler and where I don't, where I've got high spots, and then slowly work the body down before I get it in final for paint. But there's a lot of hammer and dolly on here. I don't know how far I want to go on this area, because like I said, I'm going to be cutting that gutter off, and I think that gutter comes in a good 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So I'll decide how much I'm going to do on that once I get the outer roof skin, and then I can go back and do it. But right now I'm just trying to get all of this stuff cleaned up as best I can. I've got some rust pitting in here. It's just superficial. I'll probably get me a small vacuum, or the small handheld blaster, to be able to blast those areas just to make sure all of that's gone. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and treat all this with Fast Etch and get it wiped down. So one of the things I do with the Fast Etch is I will use a Scotch-Brite to kind of scuff it in. And this Fast Etch, this is the stuff I used on the frame when I was doing the frame. It leaves a coating on it, and once it's treated, you can leave it, touch it, work on it and everything, and it does not rust up, which is great. I've used acetone to clean this stuff off, and it works pretty good. But I have found that using wax and grease remover works probably the best. I'm not trying to make it perfect. I'm just trying to treat it so that it's not going to flash rust while I'm working on everything else. So years ago when I was in Florida, I was putting a stereo in the truck, and I moved the gas tank out from behind the seat, and I was trying to put a box behind the seat for speakers, and I tried to take the gas tank pedestals out, and I started hammering on it, and I ended up ripping the sheet metal there, but that'll all get fixed when I get this done. I'll put a patch in there, and I'm gonna cut the spot welds to get those things out because I won't be using them. I know that this stuff you should let it set longer than I am, but I am going over freshly sanded metal, so I'm not really it'll get treated a lot better later on. I'm just trying to get a little bit of stuff on here so it doesn't flash rust on me. Do one last wipe down with the clean towels, and then done for tonight. This neutralizes the acid in this fast etch, so that's one of the reasons why you have to wipe it down. You don't want to leave that acid on it, especially if you're going to be putting a coating on. Got to get that acid neutralized.